I knew the words. I did it. And they're like, put him in a tux. He's on. So I get there, and this audience is filled with movie stars. It's like the Oscars. Roger Moore walks out on stage and he goes, in the grand tradition of the understudy, the show must go on. Tonight we have a young man, Brad Maule. I sang, the audience clapped. It was like a dream kind of thing. They took me in a limo to Chasen's, which was a very famous restaurant at that time. After the show, people clapped when I walked in. David Frost said, my God, Brad, you're a star. And I was like, no, I'm not. I don't know. Am I? Got up the next day doing laundry, just a regular day. And I got a phone call and they said, Gloria Monty from General Hospital saw you on the show last night. So that began a whole different saga of my life.
All right, I know we have to do this part, but, like, subscribe, all that jazz.
Right.
I say it because I have to.
Right, because you're begrudgingly...
We don't want begrudging?
No. You do begrudging very well.
But do we want begrudging?
Well, yes.
All right, guys, I hate to have to do this. I really hate to have to do this.
Oh, yeah.
But my producer is back there saying I have to ask you guys to like and subscribe. Maybe share, maybe comment if you're feeling really zesty. Anyway, on with the episode. I'm good with using that. I don't know if you've been keeping up with modern technology, with how easy they've made filmmaking for the price.
Yeah, they're actually, SFA is building us a volume studio.
Oh, you're building a volume?
Yeah, and I didn't even know what one was until I went down on a field trip to Stray Vista, Dripping Springs, and it's amazing. So
we're rolling too. Can you say that? Can you say that SFA is building a volume?
Yeah.
What are they going to use it for?
It's going to be called the Entrepreneurship Building, and so it's like the spokes of a wheel. It's not just for filmmaking. You're not just going to make, movies with CGI or whatever volume type screens. It's going to be for like forestry, agriculture, archaeology, all kinds of things. So they want to play nice with everybody.
Like for teaching purposes?
Well, that and commercial also.
Okay. So it'll be like people can rent it out and use it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they'll have somebody, this is my understanding. I'm not in on the inside of it all, but they'll have somebody that actually runs the studio and feels all the technical issues of it. And then the departments will come in there and ask to use it, and they'll play well with it.
Yeah, for anyone who doesn't know, a volume is like a giant LED wall.
It's amazing.
That The Mandalorian first popularized it. That's where they, I don't think they were the first ones to use it, but they were the first ones to make it famous. Where like the camera is hooked up to the computer that's displaying on the back wall. And then when you move the camera, the background moves correctly to shift perspective and parallax.
Yep. You know a lot about it, actually.
A little bit. I know, like they did a lot of work with the Dark Knight. Oh no, the new Batman movie too. But the thing about them too is they're really good at simulating low light or like golden hour, magic hour.
Yeah.
They're not great at like high sunlight.
Right.
So a lot of times when they're using it, you'll see it. It's like in low light conditions or like the best time of day, which is like you get an hour to shoot, and now you can do it all day in the volume.
Well, I just imagine. Like I was thinking, like, what are we going to do with it here? Are we going to do movies or something? I imagine somebody, kayaking down the Nacogdoches River, and then suddenly the Nacogdoches River is behind a person talking all about it while they teach or whatever.
Yeah, and they're awesome for those conditions because they look way better than green screens.
Oh, yeah.
They actually project the correct light onto you from the environment. Again, provided like you're not matching sunlight, which is really hard to do even with anything super duper bright.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're an awesome tool. I mean, I think movies have gotten a little trapped by them because they use them so much, and then it makes the set feel really small.
Yeah.
It's the green screen effect where like people are in like 100 by 100 box.
Right.
They're not in a real environment.
Yeah. The day I was there, it was Matthew McConaughey, Dennis Quaid, Woody Harrelson, and they were making that True Texas Value Films commercial in the car.
Nice.
So that's all they had was just a car. But then all this road behind them, I was just like, wow, it's pretty amazing.
You get to hang out with them in the green room?
Nope.
Nope.
I got to look at him. I
Yeah.
told Dennis Quaid I thought he did great as Reagan,
Hmm.
and he's like, "Thank you."
Yeah.
So,
All right. Well, Brad, you want to introduce yourself? You can
yeah.
get up on that mic too. You can be like,
Oh, okay.
you
Sorry.
can move it too. Move
I'm
it
a
over
little
to you.
hoarse. It's been a long day. My name is Brad Maule. From West Texas. Raised on a farm. How deep do you want me to go
As
in
deep
this?
as you want to. Schneider, right?
Well, that was
Schneider area.
we actually lived in between Snyder, Rotan, and Roby, so it was like everything was 17 miles from our house and a mile off the nearest paved road. And went to a school with 150 people in 12 grades. So my sister graduated in a class of 4,
Mm-hmm.
and I would have been in a class of 11. But I'm, at some point in my life, I went up to Snyder and went to school.
Okay. Because I know we have a mutual friend, Michael. I think that's actually how we met.
Yeah,
with
Michael Kruger. Yeah,
Yeah. He's from Snyder.
yeah,
And I think, isn't like Powers Booth from out that
Yep.
in that county? And
yeah. Powers Booth was from there, and it's kind of amazing. West Texas has a funny thing because I don't know whether it's people go to Hollywood or go to Nashville because they want out of West Texas, or if they're just born with talent there. But you got Buddy Holly and all.
yeah,
those
or it's
people.
just so dry and lonely out there. Like the population count's a lot smaller than it is.
Nothing to do,
This
so
way.
you just
Yeah.
I mean, we got a TV when I was 5, and I mean, I saw that and I was like, I looked behind the TV. I was like, I don't know where that goes, but that's me. That's where I'm going.
Yeah.
So, I had big dreams as a kid.
So where'd you go from there?
Well, I went to college and, ended up at Stephen F. Austin where I got my degree. And then with $600 in my pocket and my Ford Torino, I drove out to Los Angeles and said, here I am.
Mm.
And, I mean, I remember very specifically driving up on Mulholland Drive and looking down, and I was like, not only I don't know how I'm ever going to be in show business, but I don't even know how I'm going to ever even meet anybody because there was 9 million people at lights twinkling down below.
What year was this?
Let's see. So I went out there 74.
In your
And-
Torino?
Huh?
In your Torino?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's
Oh,
a movie
wow.
right there.
Yeah. It was kind of tan with those Landau tops or something. Is that what it's called?
Okay.
Landau top.
Well, I mean, it's a padded roof.
Okay, like the soft top.
Yeah, soft,
Soft top, yeah.
but not a
Not a
convertible.
convertible. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Was it
And
a hard top or was it a did it have a post? 2-door, 4-door?
it's
coupe?
2-door.
2-door?
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Hard top or was it did it have the post in the middle? I don't remember with the
I don't-
Torinos that they had a
I
post.
don't even remember.
Yeah, hard top doesn't have the post between the rear window and the front window.
Yeah, but I think
That's
I
the desirable.
I probably had a post. I don't know. Cars were so expensive back then. I think that was about
They were
$2,500.
expensive back then.
Yeah,
Insane.
it relatively.
I mean, I
speaking.
think a Mustang for inflation, like a 1964 Mustang for inflation, would have been about $26,000 or $34,000, some between that range.
Oh,
I've looked it up in the past because it was 3,400 new. So from 1964, 65 inflation, I think it was either $26,000 or $34,000.
Yeah. I remember one of my best friends back at home when I was, little, they bought the first Mustang and it was like they had bought a spaceship or something. It was the most amazing thing.
It was unique for its time.
Yeah. Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Torino is my stepdad's favorite car. He bought 2 when my younger stepbrother was probably coming into high school, and fixed them up with them and stuff like that. So very familiar with Torinos. So that's
Yeah.
kind of cool
Nice.
to see you out there chasing your dream in such a cool car.
I didn't know it at the time.
I know it.
though.
Nobody did. Who did? I mean,
Yeah.
like my dad and uncle were hot rodding back in the 70s, 60s. Like they were building 32 Fords and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So back then, like those cars were new cars. Who wants those? And now they're the muscle cars that everybody wants. And now we're getting to the era where everyone wants like 1990 Ford F-150s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm kind of really a Jeep guy. I just got rid of one Jeep, but I have 4 left.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
I had a
really
70, I
addicted.
had a '76 TJ5.
Oh, cool. Yep, I
I
have
did sell it, but
yeah an 85.
yeah, nice. I like that era. My dad had a convertible Willis,
Ooh,
1949,
yeah,
but he sold it before it ever got restored or anything. So
yeah.
it was no engine, but it's still like would have been beautiful.
Actually, I had a friend one time that bought a like an MG online, and it came in a box, and there was no engine. I mean, he was misled a little bit in that.
Hmm. Wait, he bought a car or
Online, he
online,
bought
and it
what he
had
thought
no.
was an MG, except that
Gotcha.
it came in a box, like, in pieces, like, here's a
Like
big
a K
crate.
car or
No, just somebody just put a bunch of junk in the box
wow,
and
that's
said
dangerous.
yeah, he was upset for years about it.
Mm. So did you find your dream in the Gran Torino? Or was it Gran Torino or Torino? Is there a difference? I'm not well versed on. Is that a Pontiac?
No, it's
No.
a Ford,
That's
I
a
think.
Ford. Torinos are Fords? Oh, that's right. I should know that. I'm a Ford guy. I should know
It's a
that.
Clint Eastwood kinda thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Is there a difference between those two? I'm curious.
Yeah, no, the Torino was just the base model. The Gran Torino represented the higher trim level.
Gotcha.
Hence, Gran.
Same question though. Did you find your dream?
Well, yeah, dreams are never quite what you think they are, you know? I mean, I've found it many, many times, and, but I actually went out there with the typical dream. I was like, "I'm going to Los Angeles, I'm gonna be a movie star," you know? And then, just like living day to day, you don't know really what the plan is.
Mhm.
You just know that you're just following there's some kind of connection. I don't know what it is, but yeah, it took when I look back on it, I was really starving for 10 years out there. And that's a commitment,
Mm.
still working. Everybody back here was like, "Oh my God, you were on Charlie's Angels." Yeah, one episode,
Yeah.
you know, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I know.
But
Like, no, go ahead.
well, I was just saying perception versus
Yeah.
reality.
Yeah. And like Randall, who's been on the podcast several times, Randall Reader, he was in a couple Deadpool movies. Well, he was in all 3 Deadpool movies and been in Hollywood for the last 30 years. But it's like, yeah, when you look up his net worth, it's like, oh, $10 million. And he's like, where's that $10 million at? It's like, I don't have that.
No,
Yeah.
no.
So yeah, no, it's definitely you're either up on top or you're down. How many members are in SAG? There's like
Gosh,
a small
300,
percent. That's
yeah, maybe 250,000,
yeah.
something like that. Only like I can talk about union kind of stuff, but only 1% or less than that actually make a living at it. The
Mhm.
other 98% are living on $10,000 a year or their parents' trust fund or whatever. Very few people make a living in show business.
Mm. So you were out there just like grinding for 10 years?
Got there, I got a $150 a month apartment, and it was on Detroit Street, which is not the greatest part of town, but it was close to Wilshire Boulevard. And I had $600, so first and last month rent, there goes half of it right there.
Mm.
And I was really intimidated. In some ways, I look back and I'm like, what in the world were you doing? I mean, my parents they were just so sad and just shook their heads when I left. They were just like, oh my God, we've lost him. What did we do wrong? And, I got out there and I was in this little apartment, which it still exists. I took a picture of it about 4 years ago, the building itself. But I would just l- peer out the windows at night because there were helicopters and police cars. And I'm from Texas, okay? So I hadn't really ever seen anything like that. So to me, it was like almost like living in a cave as a caveman, in that after dark, you don't go outside,
Mm.
you know? And when I look back on it, that's actually the way I lived on the farm too, because we had rattlesnakes and all kinds of creatures at night.
Mountain lions.
And once you had supper, you were in for the night,
Mm.
And I did the same thing in LA, except I was alone. So I was, scoping out all my areas. I found a little Russian grocery store down on Wilshire that sold me a meatloaf sandwich. Every day I'd buy a meatloaf sandwich for 90 cents, cut it in half, one for lunch, one for dinner. Dinner is what I learned to say out there. And I was there 6 weeks, and I was down to nothing. I had no money left. This is funny to think about all this stuff. But anyway, I did try to get a job, because show business wasn't happening after the first 5 or 6
Going
weeks.
through rounds of auditions.
No, there is no such thing. There was just the Variety newspaper and Hollywood Reporter, and you'd look at the very back of them. That's the only thing I knew to do. And there'd be ads, and they were like, casting for, backup singers or actors or whatever. It was pretty much what the internet is today, was in those newspapers and stuff. And so I was just reading the ads and hoping. And one of the ads said, if you're an actor, you can do this job. And I was like, that's me. So I went to a place over close to Beverly Hills, and I went in there, and this Chinese or very different lady, she said, oh yes, you'll be perfect for this. So here's what you do. We're going to load you up with an ice chest full of exotic sandwiches, wonderful sandwiches. And we give you an assigned area that's full of agents and executives and show business people, and you just pull that cooler around with you and sell them. And that way you make money. I was like, okay, that'll be my acting. That's what I'm going to do. And she goes, it's Beverly Hills, and Sunset Boulevard and all this. And so I got my little, got ready to go. And she goes, oh, you have to buy the sandwiches first. So that's $60 more that out of my $150 I had left, or whatever, $300 I had left. And so, I'm rolling up, Sunset Boulevard with a cooler full of sandwiches, knocking on doors, and there's no agents, or they're behind walls someplace or whatever, But I would do that, and I'd walk in there, and there was just like, no, 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 all day long. And I went back to my little apartment, and I was like, I got $60 worth of sandwiches. I got dinner. I know that. And I put them in the refrigerator, and I ate well that night. I had avocado and sprouts and all kinds of things I'd never had. And then got up the next day, and I thought, I got to make some money. So I took the same sandwiches and put them back in that cooler and walked up again. And I did sell a sandwich or two, but people, right after I left, I guess they'd take a bite of it. They came out and they're like, these are awful. They're old and sad, because avocado. So that was my pretty much first experience. I didn't make any money. I lost, $60. So it's pretty rough, depressing time at first.
What did you learn?
What did I learn?
Yeah, not to buy sandwiches.
Oh, man. Well, yeah, that was, at least I didn't get murdered or something, because I was very naive,
How old were you?
20, I guess.
20?
21, okay. Something like that. But, out here at that time, that was pretty naive, actually. That's not like people that are hip and watch TV and watch the internet.
I don't know. There's a lot of naive kids. They're hip to some things, but
you're right.
Yeah, I think that goes through every generation.
Yeah, well, I was just like this, a head on a swivel kind of thing. Anyway, what did you ask? What did I learn?
Well, it's just kind of a general, like what?
Well, no, I mean, I did learn at that time. I did learn to move forward, and this is something that my father used to say, and I never understood it. He said, when you ride, because we lived on a farm and stuff, he said, when you ride into the cold wind, like the north wind. He said, because if you ride in with your back to it, then when it's time to go home, you've gone too far and it'll be too cold. So you keep going toward as far as you can go into the wind, and then when it gets just too cold, you can't do it anymore, you turn around, and then the wind's at your back and not as cold. So somehow or another, that stuck in my head, and I was like a shark. I like put my head down and kept on swimming,
Mhm.
you know. And after that 6 weeks, when I was down to no money, and my choice was to call my parents and ask for something, which was a terrible thing to do, um, or go home and be a farmer. And I found an audition for it was the Serendipity Singers, which was a folk group at that time, and they needed somebody, and I went to that audition, and they kept keeping me, and I got hired the next day, and that was like amazing because it was $300 a week,
Mm.
and
And
the
you'd spent the last how long? 6 weeks living on $600.
yeah. So, I mean, I was like, "Oh my god, I've made it," And, the hard part was that I got that job, like, on a Thursday, and they said, "We need you in Houston at the Fairmont with the Serendipity Singers, you need to there Saturday." So, I had Friday to, like, my Torino went to an aunt who sold it for my family or for me. I literally threw what little furniture I had scavenged out the window at night because I was breaking my lease.
Mm.
I just rented the apartment and barely been there a little over a month. And so I snuck out sort of in the middle of the night and got on a plane and ended up in Houston with all of these unknown. I didn't know them. I didn't know these people, but the Serendipity Singers, if you look it up or whatever, they were a pretty famous group at that time, but it was beyond having the original members. It was
Yeah.
now just a plug in, a performer. And here's the famous Serendipity Singers, but it was all unknown kids pretty
Gotcha.
much singing. There were 7 of us. And boy, I was unprepared totally, because I had to learn 2 one-hour sets between the time that I got there on Friday night or Saturday morning and the show that night when they put me in a, Levi jacket with jewels on it and stuff. And I was out there, didn't know the chords,
Sequins.
didn't know how to make a B flat,
Did
So
you have any prior experience with music?
yeah, I
Vocals?
played guitar.
Okay.
Yeah, I had my
Vocals as
guitar
well.
with me. Yeah,
Okay.
and singing, all that stuff. So I kind of knew what I was doing, but I faked that first.
Yeah.
The Fairmont didn't get the real performance, that's for sure.
But you got through the auditions, so.
Well, yeah, because I was just singing and playing myself, and I was just
Gotcha.
just a tall, lanky, skinny cowboy,
Mm.
sort of a cowboy.
Yeah. So how long were you with them?
A year, and we were in Hawaii, and I got fired. But you'll get fired in show business quite a
Mhm.
bit. I didn't know that at the time, but the year on the road with this kind of band was worthy of many, many memories because it was one of those things where we would play the Red Roof Inn at night in the bar or whatever. And then after we closed at 2 a.m., we packed up all our gear and put it in our little motor home in a trailer and drove all night to the next gig. And then we slept that morning till about 11 or 12, in a motel, one
Mhm.
room, all laying all over the place. And then, you start doing your load in to the next Red Roof Inn or whatever Ramada or wherever you were playing. And then you played the show that night. And you repeated that over and over and over. And occasionally you would land at a Fairmont for a week or something like that. But most of the time, it was constant, strange hours, very different,
Mhm.
exposed to uh, parts of life that you'd never seen in your life and all this kind of stuff.
Coming from West Texas.
And yeah, and I mean, by the end, when we got to Hawaii for a gig, I I sort of recognized that things weren't right because I'd been in Hawaii for 5 days performing at nights and stuff, but I realized that I hadn't been to the beach. I was sleeping all day.
Mm.
So that was pretty, at that point. And the man that owned the group, who lived up in San Francisco, some very fancy kind of thing, but he just called and he said, "Yep, you're fired. And I'm like, I'm in Hawaii, and I actually lived with a girl from the group at that time, and she quit that same time, and so here we were stranded in Hawaii.
So there was no like plane ticket home.
No,
It
no,
was
no, no,
just-
no, no. You're fired. And you went from $300 a week. Actually, I was making $350 by that time because I drove the bus. Also, we didn't drive it to Hawaii,
Yeah,
obviously,
I hope
but
not.
yeah. But anyway, here I was stranded, and Don Ho, who was a very popular entertainer in Hawaii, kind of heard through people, small show business area in Waikiki there, that we were stranded, and we didn't have a job, and so he had if you look him up, he had a huge following, tiny bubbles. He was very famous in that era, and he had a large stage show with hula dancers and singers and all this stuff, and he hired me and I won't say her name because I don't want to get it, all that, but we each got $160 a week, and we did 6 shows a week. Um, 2 shows a night, I think, most of the time,
Mhm.
and so we were making whatever that is, $300 a week between us, and the rent over there was half of that. It was like $400 a month. So we were still poor, no phone, still stranded, but it was really one of the best times of my life.
You're stranded in Hawaii.
Yeah, and we walked everywhere we went, rode the bus, rode bicycles. We'd get up and go to the beach every day because we literally lived a half a block from Waikiki, the beach in Waikiki there. Kalakala and Kahio. So it's pretty amazing adventure I was on, especially from the farm.
How long did that last?
That was another year.
Another year in Hawaii?
Yep. And I have these moments. I just sort of woke up one day and I was like, number one, not in love, but living with someone. Number two, you really do. Their island fever does exist. I felt incredibly lonely. That's the best way I can describe it. It was, you're just so far from everything. And I thought, and it's funny because I was maybe 22 or 3, I forget by then. But I was like, in my career, I have no career. Show business dreams are over. You don't have perspective of like, Brad, you're living in Hawaii. You're having a great time. Instead, you think your life is over. And so I was like, see you later. And I think she was done with me too. So it was a good, healthy thing that we did. And so I moved back to Los Angeles.
So what was the original dream? Was it like movie star? Was
Yeah,
it- okay.
absolutely.
So acting.
Not Brad Pitt, but Brad Pitiful or whatever. I wanted to.
Yeah. So music wasn't that wasn't the original dream. Though.
No.
Yeah.
I just happened to have some other talents that helped me work, and it did.
And it's paying.
Yeah.
So I mean, you
and
tend to follow what pays when you're starving.
Yeah. And so I got back to LA, and all of a sudden, same thing. Once more, you get the apartment, and you're looking and starving, and then I got a job at Disneyland as a kid of the kingdom. That's performing, singing and dancing, which I had done for a year with this other band. So, I'm still in show business, and then they go on tour, and I toured Canada, and I, went all over the country as a kid of the kingdom. And
I've never heard that term before. Kid of the kingdom.
Kid
Is
of
that
the
something
Kingdom.
They still do, or is it?
I don't know.
Their final performance was 1986.
There you go.
That sounds about right. Yeah, but we were dressed in what I'd call sherbet colors, polyester sherbet colors, and we were doing, zippity doo dah, zippity yay.
Those guys.
Yep, that's us. In fact, that's we used to dance on like New Year's Eve. My particular position was on top of Cinderella's castle, and so you had to be very careful not to fall off the castle when you're out there. There's fireworks going off, and flashes from tourists and all that kind of stuff, light bulbs and stuff. So
Those castles are smaller than they look like from a distance.
they
too.
are. They're actually scaled so that that.
Yeah, there's perspective scaled, so when you're far away, they look massive.
You're the only person I've ever met that knew that.
I saw it on YouTube, so.
Oh, okay. Well, I look like a giant up there, because I wasn't scaled. I was just,
Yeah.
But I can tell you a magical time, and I worked for Disney for probably 2 years, I guess. But a magical time at Disneyland was when the park was closed at night, was when we would rehearse and put our new show up. So we got to go in the park like from midnight until dawn to rehearse. So everything was still twinkling and running and beautiful, except we were alone there. And that was a real magical time.
That's pretty wild.
Yeah.
Well, I've never been to Disneyland out there. But I've always heard they keep things very clean. Like when I was at Epcot, like everything's very nice and manicured and clean. And
Oh yeah.
the park experience is a thing.
Yeah, no, and they're real back then, and I assume they do it still today. But there was like when you got a job at Disneyland, they didn't care what you were, whether you picked up trash or whatever. You went to school for 2 weeks to learn the Disney way, which was no beards, no mustaches, no tattoos, no nothing, and that's all changed now, I think. But we were taught for 2 weeks. This is what goes on when you work for Disney, so that you were friendly and nice, kind of like a Chick-fil-A kind of thing.
Yeah. And then how long were you there?
I think a year or two.
Another year?
Yeah.
It's like you just keep going 1 year at a time?
I guess, and it wasn't my choice usually. It wasn't like I was getting fired, but things come and they go, and you start getting other work too.
So you were auditioning at the time?
Yeah, still going out looking for things, and I started getting some dinner theater work doing Fiddler on the Roof, and I did summer stock up in Sacramento and St. Louis and things like that.
Did you do theater and whatnot back in Texas when you before? Okay.
Yeah, which is pretty much a far jump when you come from a small country, out in the country kind of person.
Yeah. Well, and also like the big fish in little pond thing too, where like you're top of the game over here, the best performer in the school of 150 people versus like going to LA.
Yeah.
Yeah. Competition gets steep.
Yeah. And actually, we had one talent show a year in my little school, and that was my thing. All year long, I got ready for that talent show. So and I mean, literally at 6 years old, I was just a weird kid. Here I am on a farm, supposed to be a farmer. And I was like, no, I want to sing. So I won, I won first or second in that talent show for all the years I was there. I'm sure they were like, here he is again.
Yeah.
Give him another little trophy.
Were you able to find an agent in that period with between Disney or?
It wasn't until about 7, let's see. Well, there's a period in my life after that, like Disney, dinner theater, and then all of a sudden I got a job as a backup singer, still looking at those ads, looking for auditions. I got a job as a backup singer for Bobby Gentry. So I was going to Vegas, performing 6 weeks at a time or whatever, doing Ode to Billy Joe kind of oohs and ahs and things like that. And then I worked for Jim Neighbors, and I worked one show for Mitzi Gaynor, I think. But, they kind of like backup singers. They're like, oh, yeah, you can do this one night or something. But that was kind of my living, because I would travel every other month or so somewhere and perform as a singer and dancer kind of person. And then after that, so about in maybe 79 or something like that, I did get an agent, and typical like first agent, like a guy that'd been there for 50 years, and he's like, sign with me, I can do something with you, and I'll take all your money, and
Right.
But he's a good guy. He got me a job, I guess, and stuff, and I started getting little things, just little tiny under the 5 kind of parts and stuff like that. And then slowly things began to tumble. People don't really believe this, I guess, or know it, but like I had a big break. I got into the Los Angeles first national tour of Evita as a chorus kid.
Mhm.
Big job, $750 a week. It was the job everybody in town wanted that was in that kind of business. And I got it. And it was a 6-week rehearsal period. And I was into like the 3rd week of rehearsal. And somebody, friends of friends of friends, whatever, some person that knew me called and said, Charlie's Angels needs an actor and somebody that can dance or move anyway. And so I went over there, auditioned for the role. It was a guest starring role. Now, bear in mind, I'd never really been on big TV shows or anything. This is a big break for me. So I went over there, auditioned, and they were like, great, we need you here Friday or whatever. And I was like, oh my God. So I went back to the Evita people. We haven't opened or anything. We're just in rehearsals. I went back to them and I said, here, I've had a huge opportunity, a guest starring role on Charlie's Angels. It's 4 days of work. And, can I have that time off? And they were like, no. And I was like, yes. And they were like, here's the deal. You can go do your 4 days, but you don't have a job after that, okay? And all my friends that were, kind of in the business and in that show were like, Brad, what are you doing? You're crazy. $750 a week. This show's going to run for years. You can be rich. You can buy a house. And I'm like, I don't know.
It's not the dream.
Not the dream. So I left without ever having performed in Evita. So I can't say I was in Evita with Patti LuPone, but I did get the job at first. So anyway, I did Charlie's Angels, which was its own amazing experience because here's Cheryl Ladd and all. Farrah Fawcett wasn't in it at that time, but it was a big deal, Jacqueline Smith. And I went on the set and I was just like, it was like meeting, the biggest star. I don't know if you understand that Charlie's Angels at that time was huge.
Yeah.
It was like Seinfeld, or it was like the biggest show.
Yeah, it was massive.
And, Cesar Romero had killed my girlfriend in the show, my sister, I'm sorry. And so I had to hire the Angels to go find the killer. Turned out Cesar Romero. So it was a big break for me. And that's when the dominoes started tumbling a little bit for me, show business wise. And I remember just like thinking I was like palling around and talking to these famous people, and Cesar Romero was really nice. And then a few weeks later, I saw him on a different lot, and he was just like, he didn't know me. He didn't care. I was just some whatever, So that was a little bit of a crushing moment there, because I thought we were best friends. But
well, I mean,
he wasn't mean. He just
they see so many people and they're nice to people, and it's like
he just didn't care.
But I can see where it's easy to also get like, oh, he likes me.
Yeah, no, I was like, man, we're buds. No, you're not. But anyway, that sort of all of a sudden, until then, people in West Texas that knew my family would see my dad at the cattle auction. We're like, what happened to your kid? Well, he's going through a phase. And then all of a sudden I was on Charlie's Angels, and he'd go into the sale barn and they'd go, there's George Maule, his son Brad is, and I was like, he was like, yep, I knew he'd do it. So
yeah,
pretty interesting. And then things started coming. I got on guest star on Three's Company and Too Close for Comfort. And then all of a sudden, in typical Hollywood, climbing the ladder over the top of people's body, I left that agent that it helped me and
helped you and took all your money.
Well, he deserved what he got. So
I mean, he did get you moving.
Yeah, he started it. So in some ways, all of us are traders in that kind of way. But I went with William Morris, which was the biggest agency in the world at that time. The thing is, the person that took me on was literally, you start as an agent at William Morris or all those agents. You started in the mail room. You're just a gopher, but you still have access to being sent out. So I was very lucky and fortunate because I was suddenly had William Morris as my agency. Whether they knew my name or not, I don't know. But my agent climbed the ladder, eventually becoming one of the heads of William Morris.
Nice.
Way too big for even for me, certainly, but a good man, good person. And so that started things. I was suddenly getting, Malibu, the TV movie, and just, things like that. So
Mhm.
work was coming in, and I was not even close to being famous, but I was considered a working actor, and that was pretty amazing
Yeah.
at the time. And people back home knew who you were, kind of thing.
Mm.
I met Powers Booth. He came to my house one time. This may be jumping up a few years, but he was really famous. I didn't know him. He was from my hometown, though. But he came to our house for a Christmas party, and I was like, "Oh man, Powers, you and I, we're from the same place. We could be incredible friends." And he looked at me in the Powers Booth kind of look, and he goes, "Brad, what are you on?" And I was like, "Nothing." And he was like, "Okay," but we weren't going to be friends. He was just like, "You're just not my kind of guy, you know."
Mm.
But he was a good guy. I
Yeah.
liked him a lot.
He's a good actor too.
He's honest, a little too honest, but he
Mm.
was honest. Really good actor
Mm.
and smart.
It's hard to find people that are that honest, though.
It's what we all crave in some ways. Even when it hurts you, it sticks with you, and at least you're like, well, I didn't get fooled. I mean,
You know where you
he
stand.
didn't want to go hanging out with me. I was just a nut, so
A nut, like
a fan,
Oh,
maybe.
okay, gotcha. Yeah.
He's a movie star.
Mm-hmm. What time was that? Because I mean, he was in
He was in, well, he's
Uh,
Deadwood. He was in,
well, yeah, no, I was thinking Tombstone. Because back then, I mean, but Tombstone was 93, so even that would be not quite where we're talking
no,
about.
we're talking about 80s.
80s. I'm not sure what he would have been in the 80s.
Because I wouldn't have had a house until 84. So,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
he's a good man, though. Good actor. And was the first time I ever saw him, he was at the Old Globe Theater in Odessa, Texas, which they have a replica of the Old Globe. He was an incredible Shakespearean actor.
Wow. So then you were moving up, you climbing over the bodies, you said. To get
How
many bodies did you have to climb over?
I don't know. Because often at that time, when you're doing that kind of stuff, you don't realize what you're doing. You're just like a shark. You're moving forward, doing the best you can. But anyway, I started getting work, and then I got a play at the same time, which was a really big deal. It was at what then was called the Westwood Playhouse. It's now called the Geffen Theater, very, very prestigious theater. And we did a musical called Mary. Oh gosh, I just spaced on it. Hello Hollywood, I can't remember what it was, but Movie Star. That was the
Movie
title.
Star.
Of it. Movie Star. Bob Mackey was the producer and designer of it. It had some pretty famous names rolling around, and they were trying to get it on to Broadway. So it was like a pre-Broadway run kind of thing, and did that for 6 weeks and really got that kind of big time show business experience going on.
Yeah.
Interesting times.
So then when was your big break? Like when did...
Okay, so I think by this time I was probably around 29 years old, 30 years old. And at that point, I remember people saying, hey, you're kind of getting a little old and you're not famous, And that's just those kind of words that you hear kind of whispered in the wind. Nobody says that to you, but you get that feeling. And one day, my manager at the time and my agent called me and said, Andy Gibb is supposed to sing Arthur's theme for the American Movie Awards, and he hasn't shown up today. So they're in desperate need of somebody to take his place. And I pitched you. And he said, "Can you sing Arthur's theme?" And I said, "Well, it's on the radio." "Oh, yeah, I'm going to do it." And so he went back, and he's got a lot of power because he worked for William Morris, and he was one of the, I guess, one of the producers or whatever on that show. But anyway, the show was, it's a television show. It was happening. It was a special,
Mhm.
and they had massive amounts of things going on. And he went and he goes, "I've got his replacement for you. In case he doesn't show up, I've got somebody, his understudy, who's going to do it for you." So they brought me in. This is like at noon or something on that day. Went in. The guy said, "Music's pre-recorded. So can you sing it to us?" So once in your life, you'll find her not, that song was a hit at that time. Huge hit. And I knew the words. I did it. And they're like, "Put him in a tux. He's on." So I didn't go in a tux just yet. The director came down and said, "Okay, you're going to come from the back of the theater here. Um, we'll cue you when the music starts. I want you to walk up to down this aisle into a couple of seats here and sing to those people. And then you go down for your next verse, and you're going to turn around and sing to the front row of these two people on this mark. Then you come up on stage and you finish a song, and that's it." And I was like, "I got it. I'm done." So by this time it's 2 o'clock. I'm back in my little tiny dressing room in a usher's tux because they didn't have any, I didn't have a tux. And, furiously rehearsing everything. All of a sudden, the audience fills up. It's time to go. I'm told to get in my place. And so I get there, and this audience is filled with movie stars. It's like the Oscars. It's, you know, big deal, big deal. Glittering is the best way I can describe it. And I'm standing back there, and this lady who's the stage manager or the person, first AD or whatever, she turned to me and she goes, "What are you going to do if you forget your lyrics?" But I'm a pro by that time. Yeah, I'm
Mhm.
29, 30 years old. I said, we'll stop tape. I'll go back and we'll do it again. She goes, "Honey, it's live." So, did it.
Mm.
Um, I'm thinking, it's funny to think about things you haven't thought about in a long time. But, you start singing the song. I turned. I don't remember the people I sang to at first. I don't remember who they were. But then I got down to the front. It was Vanessa Redgrave. I was like, you know, but you're still singing. Oh, and I forgot to say that before I came out, Roger Moore walked on stage. Sorry, I get emotional, but
It's all right.
it's what I do. Okay. Later got me a couple of Emmy nominations, so it works out. But anyway, Roger Moore walks out on stage and he goes, "In the grand tradition of the understudy, the show must go on. Tonight we have a young man, Brad Maule." So that was introduced by Roger Moore, James Bond,
Yeah.
big deal. So anyway, I did all that. I came up on stage at the end of it. I sang, the audience clapped, everything went perfect. I was, it was like a dream kind of thing. They took me in a limo to Chasen's, which was a very famous restaurant at that time. After the show, people clapped when I walked in. It was like a Cinderella story, sort of. They're like,
Mm.
"My God," David Frost said, "My God, Brad, you're a star." And I was like, "No, I'm not. I don't know. Am I?" You know, I don't remember eating. I don't remember talking to people.
Mm.
I just remember all that stuff. Anyway, got back in the limo that night. The limo literally did a U-turn. Chasen's was on the corner of Beverly and Doheny Drive. I lived on the other side of Beverly and Doheny Drive. Literally a U-turn in the street. That's how far the limo went. Dropped me off at my apartment. This is a different apartment by now, obviously. And I was like, "Wow, did that really happen?" Went home, went in, went to bed, got up the next day doing laundry, just a regular day. And I got a phone call and they said, Gloria Monty from General Hospital saw you on the show last night. And, she would like to have you come in and audition. So that began a whole different saga of my life.
Hmm.
Should I go on?
Yeah.
Okay. So, all right. So I did that show, got up the next day, still the same poor person I was before.
Hmm.
But Gloria Monty was one of the most famous people in the country at that time, in terms of being a producer. Tootsie is based on her.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And, that's during the time of Tony Geary and the Ice Princess, and they were on the cover of Newsweek and Time and all. It was a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, I go in for the audition. The casting guy was there. I didn't meet Gloria Monty at that moment, but he's like, man, I do not know why they brought you in for this, because we're looking for a young rock and roll singer, and you are a old 30-year-old person.
Mm.
It ain't gonna work. But I was told to read you, so I'll read you. So while he chewed on a tuna fish sandwich and watched the monitor of what they were shooting up on the sound stage, I was like reading these lines. And then he's like, okay, you're not going to get the job, but thank you for coming in. And then
boost.
2 days later, I get a call and they're like, I don't understand it, but they want to see you again. So I go back in and he goes, you're the same guy. You're not, that kind of thing. And I was like, I don't know. I'm just trying. Okay. And so once more, we did that whole routine where he paid attention to what was being shot up on the stage while I read. And that's a fun person to act across from, by the way.
I'm sure.
And I did it. He said goodbye. And then all of a sudden they called a couple of days later and they go, well, we're going to give you a contract and we have to screen test you. So I was like, okay, for not being wanted, this is pretty cool. And I went in and did a screen test with, what's his name? The drummer, John Stamos. He was Blackie at that time on the show. And he was nice, good guy. And I did my screen test. And then they called me back and they said, you're not going to get the role, but we're going to create the role of this rock star's brother. And I was like, I don't care. This is good news to me. So I had never watched a soap, hadn't been on them, didn't know how the whole thing worked really, because it's different. It's a different kind of television. But I got a 3.
How is it different? If you don't mind.
Well, I mean, okay, if you're in a feature film, you shoot maybe 4 pages a day. So you can come in the morning and look at your line or two and do it. And they're going to do it until it's perfect. It's beautiful. You do a television show, nighttime television show, they're going to shoot maybe 10 pages a day. You do a soap, we shoot 90 pages a day.
90.
60 to 90 pages. Very, very different. And back then, it wasn't like we would rehearse in the morning, dress rehearsal at 2:00, and shoot the actual show at 3:00. Not going out over the air, but the show went on just like a stage play. So, it was very intimidating because I would get a stack of scripts that high, and at first your head goes, I can't do, there's no way I can learn all these lines. Well, you don't actually have that many lines. You're one of many people in a show. But it was very intimidating.
How many writers do they have chained up in the back room creating that stuff?
Well, they were all over the country. Also, they would write and send their script by courier, whatever. They divide that up because a script writer couldn't turn out 5-hour shows a week.
How many episodes a year is this?
It's every
day,
5 days a week, 52 weeks a year. You as an actor, at first you get a couple of weeks off and then you'll get a month off at some point. And they put everybody, like back then, I was on a 3-day guarantee. So I was guaranteed, however that would be 100 and something shows. I think it was 100, maybe it was 2-day guarantee. It was 103 shows a year. So you're not working every day. You have periods where you work 5 days a week, but then you might have a period where you don't work for a couple of weeks, but it's just a steady paycheck.
Your character kind of cycles off and then cycles back on.
Yeah, in summertime they're going to use the young storyline and all that kind of
So they
stuff.
keep it rolling, but they cycle people out so they get time off.
Yeah.
Because nobody could work straight. Maybe some of them did. I don't know.
Well, I mean, there's tiers to the show, or palettes, as they say, and these people are working 4 or 5 days a week. They're the stars, Tony Geary.
52 weeks a year.
Yeah.
That's got grueling.
Well, or maybe they're working 50 weeks a year. But it's grueling.
So it's a normal job.
It's a normal job.
Like a normal
it really
day
is.
job.
And, it's like taking a final every day until you get accustomed to it. Like it was always, it's not like you can go out and hang out all night, because you got to get up and be there at 7 a.m. And the cameraman used to say, you don't have to worry about your lines because you're not going home until you get them. So, and those poor people, wonderful people, but they were there from 6 in the morning till they finished at night. And sometimes we got out at 7 p.m. and sometimes we got out at 7 a.m., depending on how.
So basically get all the scripts done.
At that time, you would get one script done per day.
Okay.
And you were about 3 weeks in it ahead of things.
How many takes are you like? Like I'm assuming when you get rolling, like you don't really blow takes often. Like you cruise. No,
if you blow takes, there'll be somebody downstairs sitting in the makeup chair to replace you.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a hard business, and whether it's real or not, that's the kind of pressure you feel. If you're doing more than 2 takes, you're in trouble.
Unless you're like the star, and even then you're probably like.
Yeah, but by then, I used to work with one actor on there who was very famous, but at that time we had teleprompters, but they were big screens that just rolled the lines down, not electronic like you would have now. And so it was a person holding this box where the lines would just scroll through like a piece of paper. Anyway, when you acted with him, he was like this. Oh, Brad, I don't know. And you're like, I'm over here, like right here, buddy.
The high lines aren't working.
And no. And he had this 1,000-yard stare when he talked to you. And I was like, what the heck is he looking at? But the thing is, he didn't ever have to learn his lines because he read them.
Yeah.
And people loved.
So he looks more dramatic. Like he's
it's that 1,000-yard stare.
Staring off. Yeah.
It was beautiful, And I was over there like a rabbit going, and after, this 1 year habit, I didn't realize I had it, but after 1 year, I got 6 telegrams one day, because that's the way they communicated with you at that time, was like, you're gonna die. I'm like, but I have a 3-year contract. And they go, read the fine print here. We can get rid of you anytime we want to. And you're going to die.
Your character's going to die.
Character's going to die.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, man. Because I was pretty happy doing that. And so it was traumatic. But I was like, okay, your choice is you can throw a fit and walk off, or you can prove that you're a good, steady human being and you do your job. That's how long I was employed, and that's it. Just do the shows, Brad. So they shot me in the head and the heart. And you don't recover from that very often.
Not very often.
But suddenly fan mail began to pour in, back when fan mail meant something. Each letter was worth 1,000 people, according to legend. And they were inundated with like, what'd you do? Don't kill him. He's such a good guy. And so I got well and was on there for 22 years. So
the fans saved you.
The fans saved me.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Isn't that amazing?
Mm-hmm.
And I tell this story a lot, but whatever you do that gets a lot of fan mail, you'll do it for the rest of your career there on those shows. So I was best at being hurt. They shot me in the head and the heart, and I'm paralyzed and comatose and impotent and blind and had 4 brain surgeries, you know?
So this is General Hospital. Like, what's your
General
character?
Hospital.
What is your character's?
Dr. Tony Jones.
You were a doctor.
I was called, yeah, and I was became a neurosurgeon in a script change one day. I was a neurologist. I don't know what the difference is that much, but I mean, like some days I would take a liver out. You know, it's just the most dangerous part of my character is if I was driving somebody to the airport, I was like, oh, you're not coming back, are you? Because that's the way they got rid of people. It's like you drive them to the airport and you'd never see them again. Or you
shoot 'em
send
in
somebody
the-
upstairs.
Yeah, or you shoot them in the head.
Shoot them in the head, in my case. But yeah, if you send a person
learned that
upstairs, they, like, if you have a child on the show, you know, they get to an awkward stage. We all do. They send them upstairs and they don't come, when they come back down, they're 17, 18, and they're beautiful and all that. So they were upstairs for, I don't know, 10 years. So,
Yeah.
anyway. Or the evil twin comes down, which occasionally happens.
So 22 years.
Yeah.
What was that like?
It was good, you know? I mean, in 22 years, your life, you know, if I ask you, tell me everything that happened to you in 22 years,
Yeah.
you'd be like, well, there's some really bad times there, Brad, and some really good times. So it's normal life, you know? And that's one thing I try to tell my students at SFA. I'm like, you think that life is like this thing that just goes up and up and up and up. And it doesn't. It goes like this, like a roller coaster. And, you know, you may say, well, that's your life, Brad. No, it's your life too. Trust me, you know.
You're pretty lucky if it doesn't, if it's not the
Oh.
normal roller coaster.
Yeah.
And even then, like, what kind of person do you become? Because like the hardships are what shape us.
Yes. Yes. In fact, you have to look back on it because you got to get through them. But those are the ones you remember. Those are the ones that season you, that make you a better person.
Yep.
Yeah.
Selling sandwiches and living on the beach in Hawaii.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
But anyway, it was a wonderful time, you know? And
So did Dr. Tony Jones make it all the way to the end?
no, I died from a monkey virus.
A monkey virus.
Of all things.
Hard to get well from that one. And the clue, the way you find out that you're probably not going to make it, is that everybody on the hospital, there's a plague going on. Ebola, I guess was what it was. But there's a plague going on, and everybody has on hazmat suits. But you're the only one that has the full hazmat suit. Everybody else is tied around their waist, so they still look good. You know, they're walking around going, yeah, this is tough business. And you're in looking like the Pillsbury Doughboy or something. And I should have known at that
You're
time.
the only one acting with proper PPE
Right.
instructions, or like,
Yeah. And then you're going to get a tear in your suit, and you get it. And then, you know, you got to die. So
it's like, head to the makeup room because we got to.
yeah. I actually watched my death scene from Nacogdoches.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ate pizza and watched me die.
What's the turnaround time from shooting to on air?
About 3 weeks.
3 weeks. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's not like the next day, but we're still shooting. Like,
No.
you got to edit. You got to.
Yeah. And by the time, you know, we really skipped over a bunch of years, but by the time I really died on the show, it had gone from contract to being off contract, but still being used, to that kind of, you know, they start, you know, like in order to reduce your fan base, I went from being a foundation character, what they call it, which is a good guy, happily married to, you know, big star and everything's great, to suddenly you begin to cheat on your wife. You know, they crushed my hand so I couldn't operate anymore. I mean, I hid medicine from one of the leads so they might die. You know, I mean, you turn into a bad guy.
So
I shaved my head on camera.
The heel.
Yeah. So you turn heel.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like wrestling.
Yeah. And then one of the writers one time said, man, Brad, you know, you went out on a limb for this. And I was like, and you sawed it off. you know, you know, because I'm an actor. I was an actor, and they came to me during all this time because I was getting Emmy nominations, all this stuff, and she was like, the producer's like, well, it's kind of awkward, but we'd like you to shave your head on camera, kind of like Travis Bickle, Taxi Driver kind of thing. I was like, whoa, another Emmy nomination, yeah. So one take, buddy, because you can't shave your head twice. So, cameras are rolling and I've got the clippers out and I'm acting and, and you don't always get quite all your hair. So I ended up looking like a Shih Tzu kind of, but anyway, so I did that. And then after that, that's when that writer who was kind of a friend was like, man, you shouldn't have been such a good actor, Brad. You went out on this limb and now we can't bring you back kind of thing. So, you identify, as most, especially men do, your job is your value. And when you've been a person on a show for 22 years and you're no longer on that show, woo, that's a pretty tough, you lose your value in a lot of ways.
Well, I can also see like when you've been in that routine of like you said, that many weeks a year, just constantly working, and all of a sudden you're not.
And every weekend you're flying to a personal appearance. I'd get up on Saturday morning, go to Denver, come home Sunday morning. You make some money, and so I was flying all over the country and stuff all the time.
Yeah.
And you feel very hoity-toity at times. You walk out of restaurants and people are like,
Yeah.
and it's not real. It goes away very quickly.
So how long have you been a Christian?
Interesting. I felt it when I was 13 years old. Baptist Church, Northside Baptist Church. They play that soft music, and I'm, as you can tell, probably I'm an emotional kind of person, which is, in my defense, I don't think there's anything wrong with fluid leaking from your body. I really don't. It's kind
Maybe
of
it depends on where it's leaking from.
maybe, but it's kind of a normal, healthy thing. That's my defense anyway. But yeah, I was 13 sitting there and just was like, oh my gosh, I feel this. And that was that. We weren't like, there's people that are, go to church every Sunday and are big in the church and it's a social thing for them. We are country people that lived 17 miles from the nearest town, little country churches around, but we weren't people that just lived and breathed the church. We tried. We did the best we could. But anyway, I felt it then and have always had some sort of connection, like, that kind of feeling like there's something out there that, that I'm not on this path alone. Always felt that. But then you get to Los Angeles, and Los Angeles is the devil. Sorry. Maybe not for everybody, but for maybe people that are impressionable or open or whatever. To me, when I got to Los Angeles and was selling sandwiches, it was a place of white sandy beaches and palm trees and ocean and Beverly Hills, and it was beautiful, like, heaven or something like that. And by the time I left it, when I saw the sand, it was beer cans and trash and other things that we probably shouldn't be talking about. The palm trees had rats in them. Same beach. They just plowed it every morning. But my eyes had been peeled. So anyway, terrible time. Let me get through this.
No, we're doing fine. We're doing great.
Yeah. Remember to edit. I got here, and I can tell a funny and nice story about coming to Nacogdoches, but also there's a wonderful a wonderful story here, because I don't know what it is, but anyway, the history of this town, the depth of the this will get a little weird for you, but the depths of the energy and vibration in this town, sort of the way if people talk about Sedona.
Mhm.
There's a, a deep, dark, just because so many people and peoples have lived here for so many years, that there's a feeling here. And I was struck by it. But for the first time in a long time, I was like, I I gotta, you know what? I'm gonna try this weird thing. I'm gonna get down on my knees. I'm gonna I'm gonna ask God. Was like it was almost like it was something I had never thought of. But I got down on my knees, and I continued to do it for 20 years now. And and it's amazing. It's the best way to describe it. Because suddenly everything made sense, good and bad. Moving forward, not moving forward, being still, being fast, being alone, being with people, everything began to make sense.
Mhm.
And it's hard to, just like this is hard for me. It's hard. Maybe it's not for you guys. Maybe you're better at it than I am, but to tell people this experience without them going, "Oh, what's wrong with you?" But I mean, there is a Holy Spirit, and um, and it didn't make me a better person or anything. It just sort of filled up some empty spots that I had.
Mhm.
I was a shell of a person, and I'm still a shell of a person. But a lot of times people here are like, "What, Brett? What's the deal with you? Why would you want to work for free on this city council when people give you so much grief?" And they can take 3 minutes of public address and you can't speak back, and they can say you're a terrible, awful, nasty, old gray person.
Mhm.
And you're like, "Thank you for sharing." But there's some connection here. I'm like, I need to do this. I
Mm.
need to somehow live my experience, that maybe we can save some pieces of this spirit of this town, or at least continue it on.
Mhm.
Because it's thousands of years of people living here, and then 300 years of organization of sorts.
Mm.
And maybe we got 3,000 more years. I don't know. But there's tendency for everybody to try to throw out the baby with the bathwater kind of thing.
Mhm.
You people, you old people, yeah, you don't know.
Well,
But anyway,
you haven't been on the
you
city
feel like
council
you're
for
on a
long.
mission. I'm
You haven't
sorry.
been on the city council for long. Like it was
I'm on my third year now.
third year?
Yeah, second term.
Okay, got you. Because
Yeah.
okay, then I was not.
But I went to city council meetings for 2 years, not knowing why. I mean,
Mhm.
I knew that I had an issue, but you know, you there's a connection. There's reasons these things happen. I'm not a politician. I'm, uh, I am guided for as long as I'm supposed to be doing this. But I didn't come to Nacogdoches to run for city council.
Mhm.
I came here to reestablish my soul, is the best way I can describe it. I came here to get well.
Why'd you pick Nacogdoches?
I looked all over. My parents were dying and dead and going. So in West Texas didn't hold much for me. My children were in Texas. And I looked in Pecos, and I looked in Wimberley, and then I went to Marfa and Marathon, And I was like, I'm gonna live here somewhere. I just don't, I don't know how I'm gonna make a living. Not much acting in Marfa, I don't think. Maybe more than there is out here. But I thought, I'm come back to Nacogdoches because I went to school here.
Mhm.
So I had a friend, and Shirley Waterston, and she said, she's a wonderful person, and she was like, just come stay in this bed, one of my bedrooms here. And so I stayed for 30 days, and I was like, this is there's something here,
There's a lot of people that I know. Ben's one of them who like
I was just about to
picked
say,
Nacogdoches for some reason. Like, because I mean, one of its nicknames is Nac of Nowhere, which I don't like.
I hate that.
I hate that name too. But
sack of roaches.
yeah,
It's
I've heard that too.
offensive.
But if you talk to someone from Houston, they're like, "Oh yeah, I know where that is." Like then they'll throw out that name, and like it pisses me off every time.
Yep.
But it's like, in a way, I don't know. It's almost like it's prophetic in its own way because it's nowhere, but it's like it is somewhere special. That
Very
for some reason, a lot of people like Ben, like Terrell from the pastor at Mosaic,
Mhm.
like who just like found Nacogdoches and just like, I can't leave this place.
Yeah.
There's something special here.
There is something special in it, and it's more like Nacogdoches found me kind of thing. I mean, I just, the brick streets and the old buildings, and
Mhm.
people, there are, they may not know it, but there are angels in this town, because they don't come to you and say, "Hey, guess what? We're gonna lift you up." They're just around. You meet them, they're friendly, but you'll find that they're behind the scenes secretly. Maybe you see this in your church, but they're busy just like throwing goodwill or some piece of job or a little something extra for you. They're helping you build your life back.
Mm.
And it's an amazing thing in all kinds of ways.
Hmm.
And I was lifted up here, and you don't always appreciate it or know it, but in your weak moments or moments when you do something like this, where I'm having to relive a bunch of memories that I haven't lived in a long time, you get perspective and realize that.
Mm.
And I guess that's sort of the essence of the Bright Foundation here in town on a different level, or Bill Elliott and his largesse. Or back then, when I first came here, there was Ed Cole and the Wrights.
You want to describe what those are for
Those are
listeners?
benefactors here. I mean, people that have, rather than just making money, they try to make the town better or save buildings or save history, or
Mm.
they're just, and, I don't hang out with them. They're not my best friends or anything, but they are incredibly good people. One thing that we need to do, and right now, is uh, to develop a new generation of those kind of benefactors,
Mm.
because most of those people are my age, and the towns cannot exist, or like this kind of town cannot exist without people that give rather than take all the time.
Mm.
And that's something that we need to start working on. Maybe your church can work on that. Maybe they do. But you can't just come here and say, "Well, great energy, and I love, all the bars and the fun and everything." But what are you giving back other than a $5 beer? I mean, you have to to me, we need to establish, like, everybody hates the potholes on North Street. Okay? Well, let's do something about it. Not just wait for TxDOT to roll along and fix the potholes. I'm not saying that you have to go out and fix a pothole, but there is a spirit of giving back that we haven't developed quite as much as we should, I think.
I think it's
That-
dwindling across the whole country.
It is, and the national politics unfortunately trickles down, and people are a lot more angry now, and they're a lot more divided,
Mm.
all that stuff. But uh, look at you know, 40 years in the desert, and maybe you have a few deserts out here too that you have to go through.
Yeah.
Brad, excuse my ignorance, but what are the responsibilities of a council person?
Well, first of all, you are responsible for trying not to tax people out of their life, because the tendency is in any kind of business or government is they spend all their money and then ask for more. And every year they don't ever save money. Sorry, this is
Well, no,
radical news.
you have to spend it all in order to get the same amount next year. If you spend less, they'll give you less.
I know that. And that's kind of a radical idea, but I'm like, maybe we ought to try that sometime, because at some point people are going to hit the breaking point, I think, and you just can't continue. At some point, yes, we need to pay for trash, and yes, we need to pay for this and that. So to answer your question right off the bat, we spend about $43 million a year. Okay. So that's a big responsibility.
City of Nacogdoches.
City of Nacogdoches. Now, somebody may be listening to that and go, Brad doesn't know what he's talking about. It's 42.3 or something. Okay. I'm a generalist.
Let's split some hairs.
Yeah. I've never seen that much money. So, but I'll tell you, you can, I'm getting a little off track here, but if you take care of your own wallet, and then you try to take care of the city's wallet in the same manner, you have a world of success on your hands if you can do that. Because first of all, I buy food and I have a roof over my head. And then if I have extra money left over, I buy a gift or I go on vacation to Cancun or something. But the tendency in government is to go to Cancun first, and blow all the money. Sorry, government. I'm sorry. You guys are having to find this out. And then we're like, oh my God, we're out of money. We need to tax you more. It's bass backwards in my head. And, and it's an easy habit to get into, because when it ain't your money, it's a lot easier to spend it. And so I don't know if I answered your question.
That's what you guys are in charge of is essentially the city's budget.
Well, yeah, you got
city projects and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, literally, we meet the first and third Tuesday of every month. There's a lot of workshops, and in between, you get $0 for it. Okay, it's not a paid position, and actually, you would think you'd get tons of like little celebrityhood or something, but you don't. You're like that. Yeah, that council guy, whatever. I mean, some people love you, but it's not like you have to do it because you really care. It's not a stepping stone. You're not going to go to Congress or whatever.
Right.
You're just here. But I have this. I just have this thing where it's time for people to start, instead of asking that the city come and make my yard beautiful. It's time for you to go to your yard, your street, your gutter, clean it up like they do in Greece. If you go to Greece or someplace like that, they come out every morning and sweep their part of the sidewalk, sweep their part of the street, wash it down. It's an old way of doing things. It's like sweeping your yard when you're a country person. But we've turned into a consumer nation where, you sit in your house, you watch TV, you're doing all that kind of stuff, and you're like, why is my street so dirty? Why don't I have,
Yeah, it becomes an entitlement.
It's an entitlement.
Yeah.
And we're lucky. We're so lucky. We have so much money and so much stuff, here. Even the poorest of us do. And at some point, there needs to be a turning where people get up and they're like, you know what, I'm tired of waiting. I'm just going to go out and start. I'm just going to take care of my yard. And it spreads because I've seen it on my street. We started really trying to make our yard beautiful. And then I don't know if we had an influence, but our street started to get prettier. People were like, dang, look at their house, look at all the shrubs. And they sit on their porch. In fact, we sit in the back every morning and every night. And people, I don't know how much influence we have because I can only influence what my life is. But if people see you doing that, suddenly I think they're like, well, hey, that's a novel idea. Maybe we should sit outside and make our yard pretty. And pretty soon the town is beautiful rather than doing a comprehensive plan where we're going to fix your section of town and not your section,
Because those always work.
Those always work.
Mhm.
And it's almost a reflection of the Christian life,
Yeah.
right? I
Well,
mean, you're supposed to be tending your own garden so that others can see and want what you have.
Yeah. And it's like you talked earlier about attaching value to the thing that you do, like your job, but also like how you keep your house, how you keep your yard,
Mhm.
how you comport yourself in the community. Like those all have value as well.
Yeah. I should listen to you guys more than I feel like all I've done is talk since I got here.
Oh, check us out. We're on YouTube, Spotify, anywhere you get a podcast. But yeah, no, I think that you definitely hit something with regards to the vibes in this city. Even outside of what Amos mentioned, the few people that I talked to, I mean, we moved here 4 years ago in a couple days, and don't have any family near here, and there is just something about Nacogdoches, and I've always felt the need to, just like you said, is to pour into Nacogdoches rather than to take, and to pour into the community. Whereas in years past, we were traveling around, and we could go from one city to another, not ever really, build any relationships or even know, who our council people are.
Yeah.
Really. And so I have a little bit of a vested interest of just kind of getting to know, what you do and what you do for this town. And yeah, it sounds like your heart's in the right place.
And it doesn't mean you do everything right. I mean, part of every time we meet, it's like somebody wants their land zoned from business to residential or reversed, whatever. And you're making those kind of, I'm sorry, but it's sort of a Solomon like
Split the baby.
split the baby kind of thing because there's competing interests.
Yeah.
And these competing interests both care deeply about what they're doing. They're not bad people.
Mhm.
But at some point up the chain of command, you have to say, well, the best we can tell, this should happen, not that. And and what you're doing is you're making somebody's life for that particular moment, and you're destroying somebody's life. And that's the way they feel about it, and I don't blame them,
Yeah. That's tough.
but these kind of things, like learning to take care of your own Garden of Eden or whatever, if we can once it's like the tipping point kind of thing. One person does it, two people do it. If we get enough people here, and they're going to have different interests. Some people want only bars, and some people want, I don't know, they want apartments or whatever. None of it is wrong. But once we get the uh, philosophy moving inside people, or the spirit moving inside people, that as much as I take, I'm going to try to give back,
Right.
it spreads like wildfire. And I think we will wake up one day. This is my dream, is that we will wake up and be like, we gotta, we have to We have to stop this. We've been a selfish, consumer-oriented society, and we need to start with our own wallet and with our own house, giving back a little bit.
Amen.
Tithing, I guess, is part of it.
Well, the thing is, you can only take for so long. You can only be a consumer for so long, an extractor, before the system crumbles. Like, and if everyone does that, the system will crumble even faster.
Yes.
Um,
And it rots your gut. You rot from the inside. You don't
Mm.
even know it.
I saw a video the other day of it was a teenager who wanted to go get a job, and his mom was telling him that he could not get a job because she would lose her Section 8 housing if he did that. And he's like, "But mom, I want to make something of myself. I
Yeah.
want to, be a man of value, essentially." And she's like, "No, the government can take care of you. Like, don't be a dupe and go get a job."
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's kind of like just shocking that, but I get it too. Like, there's people like that in this world that are just, they've lived off the government teat for so long that they don't know anything else. They were taught to do that by their parents. And it's like, and it's nice to see someone who actually wants to break that chain.
Yeah.
But then his mom's like, "No, you're not doing that. You can't do that."
Yeah.
But
And if you do several generations of that, it's very hard because you don't even have the concept of you.
exactly. That's where like generational curses, where it talks about in the Bible, are like,
Yeah,
they're a real
6
thing.
generations or
They're a
whatever.
real thing because like how you raise your kids affects how they raise their kids, or affects how they raise their kids.
Yep.
And like, yeah, you don't have the toolbox or the equipment to get out of like, how do you save money? How do you earn up? How do you get a good job? How do you like gain a skill?
You don't even have the concept oftentimes,
Mhm. Yeah. Or the positive influence around to go down that road.
I
But
teach a class called Professional Practices, and seems so simple to me, but it's like a mysterious thing to a lot of the kids that I teach. I'm like, well, there was this thing came out 2 years ago or whatever, where this guy said, general said, well, first thing you do in the morning is make your bed. And that's actually a radical concept because I listened to that and I realized that I started making my bed when I got here to Nacogdoches. My whole life, my mother made my bed, my girlfriend made my bed, my wife made my bed, my maid made my bed. And then I was alone and I was like, who does that now? And once it takes 30 days or whatever to create a habit, that had an effect of changing my life, was getting up in the morning and making my bed, which I do faithfully. And I get to skip Fridays because that's when I change my sheets. But I know that seems crazy, but with a lot of the kids that I teach, they're like, I sleep under a comforter. I don't even have sheets, dude. And
you're just on the mattress without
on the mattress with a comforter.
That's a
whatever.
college kid for you.
Yeah, and I don't blame them. That's okay. But there's things like that. Like I teach them about, like how to put away a little bit of money. It's crazy. I'm 20. Why would I put away a little bit of money? And you'll have one or two students that's like, yeah, I've been doing that. And I'm going, you're going to be rich when you get my age. You'll have money to live on. There is nothing worse that I've experienced than being older and not having any security in your life. When you're 20, you can sleep in your car. When you're 50 or 60 or 70, the people that I represent in this town literally they don't eat dog food, but they eat canned tuna, and they have to be careful about how much they eat. And that's what those little like when people say, this tax, it's just $21 a year. The people I represent, not all of them, but a lot of them, that $21 is the difference between a meal and not eating for that week. So I do not buy that stuff of like, it's nothing, just it's 2 pennies. Yeah, but it's, it breaks people sometimes. Anyway,
Well,
so I try to teach them common sense.
Yeah, question. You're on city council. We were talking the other day about a food bank. Like, how hard is it to start a food bank in Nacogdoches? Like, if our church started one.
I think it's probably pretty easy for you to do if you do it. I mean, there's um, the Yellow House, there's Hope, I think, and Love Inc. and there's food banks here,
Mm-hmm.
and they are giving out more food than they've ever given out. I mean, people, we live in a, you live in a bubble actually, but there's a incredible amount of poverty in this area here.
Yeah.
I mean, if you live, if you live in your little downtown loft, or if you live on Mound Street, or you live in Waterford or something, you if you look up, you actually realize you live in a bubble because you think, well, that's the way everybody lives. But if you'll just get in your car and drive around, go to some of those trailer parks that you are scared to go down,
Mm-hmm.
and you realize that people, I think the average income here is like $32,000 a year or something like that,
And that's well below the poverty line.
Yeah,
For
like,
the, for
and
the,
maybe,
the nation.
yeah, the nation's more like 53 or something
Yeah.
like that.
Hmm.
Sorry, I'm getting on a little bit of a soapbox.
No,
but I'm a soap
That's
actor,
what this is for. I mean, actually, Ben's been saying like, "Hey, we need to have someone here to talk about the current state of Nacogdoches."
Let's talk about it. Bring it on.
Well, back to I just think that Nac is such a special spot.
And then I mean, not to cut you off, but like growing up, so I've been here in and out for 25 years, since '96. And the number one complaint, like in the early 2000s, was like the council doesn't want to let the city grow. They don't want to, let the big businesses come in and this and that and the other thing. And then they let it grow up in Lufkin. And now I'm like, that might have been a good idea, not allowing all that. Like I know that there's a certain amount of complaint. There's not a lot to do in Nacogdoches, but there's a lot to do in Nacogdoches. But
Yeah.
how much of that do you want bleeding into the town and like influencing everything? I don't
Okay.
know.
Well, you've opened up a lot of interest. What do they say at church? There's a lot to unpack here
Yeah.
with all this. Okay. First of all, somebody explained to me one time, because I've said the same things, and they said, Brad, Lufkin is flat, Nacogdoches is hilly. The very nature of your terrain makes it harder for businesses
Okay.
to come here. They have, for whatever reason, Temple Foundation or whatever, they have more industry and more money and more tax base in Lufkin. So when they want an Olive Garden or something, if that's what they really want, or a Target or something, they can go out and say, here's some tax abatements and here's $5 million. And why don't you build here? We don't have that luxury here. So, but what you struggle with is also your blessing, because Nacogdoches is beautiful, can be. If you drive around here, all the hills and the trees and everything else, if it looked like, nothing against Lufkin, but if it looked like Lufkin, that's a different ball of wax there. So careful what you wish for too, and for somebody, which is, I get it when people say there's nothing to do around here. I'm like, okay, what is it you want? Top Golf?
Yeah.
You want Dave and Buster's? I mean, is that your version of something to do? How about you plant some plants and clean up your yard? How about you, like, and I'm really treading on thin ice here, because people that don't want to like you take this kind of stuff as a personal insult, I'm sorry, but uh, a lot of people are always like, "Ugh, there's just no place for the children to play." And I'm like, what about your yard? Have you thought about that? And they're like, well, you're old. And I'm like, yeah, we played with refrigerator boxes and sticks, and it was incredible.
And you walked around town and biked everywhere and did what. And now, like, what was it? Was it even Florida, either Florida or Texas, where a mom got arrested because her 10-year-old son walked to the store a mile away?
Yeah.
Yeah.
My daughter, when she was little, she told me that her dream was to walk to a store someday. And I was like, Oh my God. So by herself,
Hmm.
and 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 it struck me at that time. I was like, what have we done that you know? And I know things are different now, but you know, in the old days, your parents just kind of pushed you out the door and said, "See you at dark."
Well, and also we had a high trust society.
We did, and we don't now.
It's better here than other places. But yeah, like, and certainly the more rural you get, the more high trust you get as well. I mean, I haven't been to every rural area in the country, but yeah, and then when you go to the cities, it becomes very low trust.
Yeah, yeah, and and yet people are lobbying for you to live tighter and closer to each other, which is
While not being in the same community with each other, like just isolating, going and being in your home, your apartment, your condo.
but like this.
Yeah. And your friends or your social group around. Like, it kind of is amazing how there's a chart that my wife was looking at somewhere where it was showing how much time you spent with your neighbors over time. And it's like it's shrunk and shrunk and shrunk to where people don't even know their neighbors anymore. And it used to be, 50, 100 years ago, like your neighbors were your main social group,
Yeah.
the people right next door to you.
In Los Angeles, I did not know the person that lived across the street from me, nor did I know the person that lived to the left or the right of me.
Mm.
We would wave, "Good morning, neighbor." It was
Yeah.
like, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But you never hung out or anything like that.
I bet you that grocery store that had those sandwiches knew you, though. There's that kid
Yeah.
coming with his 90 cents to get a sandwich.
Yeah. It was a Russian store too. So that lady's like, what? White bread? And I don't even know if it really was meatloaf. I thought it was meatloaf, but it was some kind of.
But they had avocados? The Russians had avocados?
No.
Different.
That was the sandwich place
Oh,
that I
different
saw.
place. Okay.
No, that was fancy Beverly Hills.
Gotcha.
That was a $6 sandwich right there.
Back then?
Back then, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a heck of a sandwich.
That's why they didn't sell, And then a day old avocado and sprouts is not a good sandwich, let me tell you.
And I would, the avocado trend probably wasn't very prevalent back then.
See, there's indicators in your life because when I went to country school, that 150 kids in 12 grades, across the road was a little store, and it had a table where people played dominoes every day, old men did in overalls, and a pot-bellied stove in the wintertime that was heated up. And you go in there, and one time they had avocados in there, and I bought one for 10 cents. I was like 10 years old or whatever, and bit in it like an apple. It was nice and hard. I didn't want one of those soft ones. It was one of the worst experiences of my life, but it was foreshadowing that I was going to live in Los Angeles and be in show business. I just didn't know it.
Well, at least you knew what it was when they mentioned it.
Oh yeah, I was like, don't get the hard ones.
Yeah,
don't bite into it like an apple. Kind of like the first time people started eating wasabi or something, like, oh, I'll have a spoonful.
Our kids were doing that the other day. They were having sushi and they were like, ooh, trying the wasabi. And I'm like, you don't want that much? And they're like, oh.
Yeah.
And they're like, it burns. Give me milk. I'm like, milk doesn't work on wasabi.
No.
It's not the same as peppers.
No, it just goes right up in there.
Doesn't last long though.
No.
It's a nice thing about it.
And it's great when you get older because you have no taste buds left. So it's like, oh,
it flushes your sinus.
Kind of sweet. Yeah. It's probably a bad sign that my children as babies ate with chopsticks. What does that say? Okay. They were eating their favorite, I know, but their favorite after school snack was sushi. And I was like, oh, Brad, we've lost you. You've lived in Los Angeles way too long.
Same, but my kids love sushi.
Yeah.
They're like, and I'm like, it's way healthier for you than candy or snacks or a Snickers or whatever. Like,
and I just to backtrack a little bit, I don't mean to diss people that want bars and all this other stuff. I go to them. I like them,
Well, I think, not to cut you off, I think that people get myopic and they want that one thing. And there's more things going on in their life. Like they're showing up at the city council for 3 minutes to talk. So they're going to talk about the thing that they want that's most pressing to them.
Yeah.
And like, if all of us knew each other better, again, in that community setting, we'd understand where everyone's coming from better.
Yeah.
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 Anyway,
And
sorry.
both of us be a little more forgiving, perhaps.
Yeah.
But here's what I've seen in the past. Once you start getting that wonderful vibe of bars and stuff downtown, it's a great thing, but the rents start going up, and so you chase all the people that used to run the stores. They're out of town because right now, they are like, well, it's antique stores and lawyers, and we need something, and we do. You need a healthy balance of it, but once you run everybody off, and the only way you can make rent or own that property is that you have to sell alcohol and beer
Mm.
because that's the only way you make enough money to do it. Along with that, this will probably get me unelected, by the way, but the only way that, since that's your only way, and you pack the streets, let's all live really close together and this cool vibe and we can dance and everything. Okay. But along with that comes, well, why don't we just have sex here on the street and kind of, why don't we do
Yeah.
a bunch of drugs? And pretty soon you're on Bourbon Street in New Orleans, and it's fun to go to. It is not fun to
Right.
live in.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like going to Vegas. After 2 days, you're like, oh my God, I don't want to be here.
Well, it's that beach with the rats and the trees and the
It
big
is.
cans. Yeah.
Yep. And I'm just saying that maybe just slow down a little bit.
What culture are you bringing into town by? Yeah. It's
And
the
yet,
first thing that comes to mind for me.
and not trying to turn it away, but let's create a little bit of a balance between, we have brick streets, we have 100-year-old buildings, and we just don't need, like, if you go to Memphis, there's Beale Street. It's a tough street to go down. You go to Nashville now. Have you been to Nashville lately?
I have not.
Woo! It's like Las Vegas. I mean, it's flashing lights and bars and music everywhere. It is fun for a night. It is hell for a life.
Mm.
Sorry, Nashville, but you know it. And
Well,
you
hopefully
think
Nashville's
people.
listening to the podcast.
Sorry?
So hopefully Nashville's listening to the podcast.
Yeah. Hello, Nashville. But you think we're poor then. You just wait to see how poor we are when you can't get down North Street now, but just wait, so
Yeah.
When is when can a local citizen go up to talk to you? When do you guys have?
Tuesdays, first Tuesday and third Tuesday
Okay.
at 5 p.m. or 5:30 actually they start, but you get there like 5:15 and you can sign up to speak in the public forum, which is the first part of the meeting. And it's a really good thing because, like, people that actually take the trouble to go to a council meeting and sign up to speak, all the people that work for the city are there listening.
Yeah.
And like, if you have a drainage problem or a pothole or somebody's motorhome parked in the middle of your street or whatever, somebody from the city is writing that down and going, okay, we'll go and we'll see what we can do about it. But so, and we can't respond or anything. We can't discuss it with you or anything. You just come up, you got 3 minutes, and you can say anything you want.
Yeah.
And they do. And it helps us because we don't know, we don't have perspective. We have our perspective. But if you come up and you're a genuine person and say, like, if you came up, what would you talk about? What's your issue?
When is this Aldi gonna open up?
Very good question. Now,
I'm excited.
me too.
Yeah.
Me too. I guess soon. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
Mm.
that's something that you read in social media and stuff. They're always like, city council won't let Aldi's open up. They closed the movie theater down. No, we didn't. We don't have.
The
Yeah.
movie theater just went out of business.
We
AMC.
Well, I'm kind of coming at it from a different point of view, whereas I want to educate my fellow Nacogdochans to be more active. That don't just let the squeaky wheels always get up there, but hey, let's I've never once before in all of my 37 years of life have wanted to, you know, chime in on local government. But I think at a certain point, my generation needs to get their head out of the sand and wake up to the fact of that's all we're going to be able to really control is at the local level at this point, and let's do something about it.
That'd
Yeah.
be incredible,
Yeah.
you know. And just in a human way, people respond to you more when you don't personally attack people, you know? I mean, we get in this mindset of like it's your fault and you control all this, and they always talk about like old money and the old good old boys and all that. They won't let things happen.
Mm.
It's not true. They may be a few good old boys that wish things wouldn't happen or would happen or whatever, but you know, it's you're you're not taking power for yourself, you know.
Right.
If you come up with a genuine idea, I have a pothole in front of my house and I would like to have it filled. Please, thank you. There is somebody that's going to try to help you. But if you come up and say, you're a terrible person because you have not fixed my pothole, we're like, we don't know where you live.
They probably think you're out there digging them in the night.
Yeah. Julie has a great idea. She wants to put Christmas trees in each pothole, like for Christmas. and that way you have to drive around it, but at least you go, oh, that's a pretty tree, you know. I don't know.
Mm.
If you guys get me in trouble, you know, because people are like, "Dang, he's a little too honest for what we're talking about here."
Mm.
It's okay.
Maybe you learned something from Power's booth. It's like, be honest, straightforward.
You know, I admire that quality. I'm more of a try to get along.
A little more,
Get along.
a little more tact.
Yeah, get along,
Mm.
go
Yeah.
along.
All right. Well,
Is that it? It was only 30 minutes.
yeah, I know they go by fast. I don't think I got to half the stuff I wanted to talk about, but you know,
Part 2.
part 2. Yeah,
I think so. I think so, Brad. It's been a pleasure having you.
it has.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry I was a little weepy there, but you know, you guys kind of punched my buttons a little bit there.
Well, sorry, not sorry, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
You could tell there was a lot of weight and a lot of importance there on those things.
well, you're the one that said, you know, it's the bad times that really form you.
Mhm.
And I'm like, oh, dang it. Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you. It's very fun.
Yes. Thank you.
Hope you enjoyed it.
Hey guys, hit that like and subscribe button real quick. It only takes a second.